tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970? Well, a man named Charles Grady is the winter caretaker. And he came up here with his wife and two little girls, I think about 8 and 10. From what I've been told, I mean, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe.
You can rest assured, Mr. Ullman, that's not going to happen with me.
You did this to me, didn't you? How could you? How could you?
Here's Johnny!
Why are all like Halloween characters like named Jack? You got Jack Skellington,
It's a cool
Michael
name.
Myers.
Cool name.
Josh, you ready to talk about a movie you just
Your
watched
dog's
like a
name
minute
is
ago?
Absolutely not.
Sir, your dog's name is Jack.
That doesn't mean it's a cool name.
Then just throw your opinion on whatever you want. I'll sometimes throw it to you, and Kat, I'll just be like, Kat,
I love
what's
this
up?
movie.
Alright, let's get into it. Alright. Hey everyone! Welcome to our first Halloween spooky week here on Cinema Gibberish JD Studios.
It's spooky season.
That's right. And we're starting, what, like a trilogy of spooky season right now?
Yes.
3 reviews. Won't reveal the other 2. Those are soon to come. You can expect that. But this week, we're talking about the 1980 classic, The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Stanley Kubrick, very popular director of his generation, I say.
Absolutely.
Directed Clockwork Orange, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Full Metal Jacket, just to name a few. Those are all very good movies in my opinion. Some a little controversial. The budget for this thing was $50 million, which, counting for inflation, is $46.7 million.
Seriously.
Yes, and it made, for today's standards, it made $138.3 million. So it definitely made its money back. And we're just now getting a sequel this year.
Yes, we are.
Which I didn't realize that until, like, I watched this movie. So,
Yeah.
anyway, this cast for this movie is also very good. It's a small, very small cast, but very, very awesome. You got Danny Lloyd as Danny, Shelley Duvall as Wendy,
Yes.
I believe her name is.
Wendy.
Wendy, yes.
Winifred.
Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. And then my favorite, Scatman Crothers as that guy whose name I don't remember. I just call him Scatman the entire time. Dick. Yes, his name is Dick.
I don't know his last name. Something with an H.
It's actually a really complicated name. I looked at it, I couldn't pronounce it, but anyway, let's just jump into it. Josh, you're pretty fresh on this movie. Just quick thoughts. What you just think?
I think it's interesting. I feel like as much as I don't really wanna, a rewatch would make me enjoy it more than I did. I came up here 5 minutes after I finished this movie.
This is true.
Yeah, I want to know. So I know you're not a huge fan of horror movies, right?
I'm not.
So I want to know, did this movie scare you at all?
No.
Okay. All right. That's fine. It didn't scare me either, Kat.
No.
There were points where I actually thought stuff was kind of laughable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is a little dated in some parts. I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
It does that thing a lot that Planet of the Apes does, where it needs to be dramatic, so it does the zoom.
Yeah.
Which I think is always interesting.
Are you talking about a certain shot with us?
No,
a guy
just it
staring,
happened
or-
multiple times.
Okay.
Like just
And-
zooming in on faces.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It does happen a lot.
I thought the performances, for the most part, were solid.
Yeah.
The kid was hit or miss for me.
Really?
He got better as it
Really?
went along, but the first scene of him at the table
Yeah.
was very dry to me.
Okay, I was gonna say Stoneface. Okay, yeah.
I was like, oh boy, it's a kid actor. Those are always satisfying. But he got better.
Actually, fun fact about this Danny kid, he had no idea he was in a horror movie the entire
Yeah.
time he shot this.
Interesting.
No one told him, and they would put a dummy in place of like the really horrifying scenes. That way he wouldn't see anything. And they didn't tell him he was in a horror movie till years later when he was like more our age.
Yeah.
So fun fact.
When he could comprehend.
Yeah. So I guess you never went to the premiere of this movie. Kat, anyway, overall impressions of this movie.
Excuse me, I absolutely love this movie. It is an absolute classic. I make every friend I have, if they haven't seen it, I make them watch it, spooky season, because I watch it every Halloween. It is an absolute classic. Jack Nicholson kills it.
Yes.
And it is just, it's a good, not necessarily scary, but it's just a good creepy movie.
I was thinking that when we were watching downstairs,
Yeah.
like, this movie's just flat out creepy. There's no other way around it. It's just creepy.
It's not I won't call it a scary movie because it doesn't necessarily scare you. It's just so eerie and like dark.
It feels more like an art piece than it is a horror film.
Exactly.
And that's why I think I like it so much.
I love it.
So I guess we'll just sort of dive our way into this part. Josh sort of hinted at this stuff, but Kat, what did you not like about this movie?
Oh, it's very hard for me to pick out things I don't like about this movie.
Yeah.
It is one of my absolute all-time favorites.
I found myself nitpicking it as well.
I would say if I had to, I would say the zoom shots are a little hit or miss.
Yeah.
There are definitely points where it's dated enough that you just kind of like laugh.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
If I had to pick something.
Josh, did anything else except for the zoom shots or?
Within the first few minutes in the establishing shot, you can see the shadow of the
Helicopter.
Can
God.
you? Yeah.
Yes,
I didn't even
you can.
notice that.
He clocked it within the first like 5 minutes of
Wow.
watching, and I was like, "This is gonna be annoying."
Which is why I stopped. I just
I wanted to hurt you.
I was just like, oh hey, there's the helicopter. It's just in the far corner. No, I'm gonna. And this might upset you. I'm just gonna be honest. At points, I loved the score, and at
Ooh.
other points, I hated it.
Okay.
That's okay.
It was
You feel like
up
it was, like, beating
and
you over the
down.
head, or-
When it was just all the what has now become the trope horror movie violin.
Yeah.
I find that really irritating. At the beginning, when it's all the low bass and that stuff, I was like, this is good. This sets the tone, and then that just irritated me.
Okay. Me personally, I found that granted, even if you could see the helicopter in that one shot, there's some pretty good shots.
It is a cool
There are
shot.
a lot of really good shots in this movie.
I didn't
Cinematography
dislike
was
the
amazing.
shot.
I know. But that being said, lots of long tracking shots in this movie, and I felt it was very awesome for this movie up until the last chase scene in the maze.
Yeah.
I felt they might have just overdone it a little bit.
It's a tiny bit drawn out.
Because in that particular scene, I don't feel much tension at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sort of waiting for them to wrap it up. But like you keep on taking these same tracking shots around the maze and stuff,
Yeah.
following Danny, and then on Jack Nicholson, it keeps on kind of repeating the same sort of things. And so, Danny, I'm right behind you.
But I also feel like it could have been shorter.
Okay.
Like, it's really long.
Well, I was also thinking that, so in this movie, it's about Jack Torrance. He goes from somewhat of a family man. I say somewhat because there's some surprising dark...
Questionable background.
Yes, exactly. Who goes from family man who quickly turns
Yeah.
to a psychotic maniac trying to kill
He flips
his
pretty
entire
quick.
family. Exactly. He just becomes a psychotic maniac. And that's sort of my other nitpick is that I feel like there should have been the whole him flipping should have been drawn out a little bit more,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
For
maybe
how
one
long
scene.
the movie is,
Yeah,
it
if you
kind
want
of...
to do comparisons,
Joker.
yeah.
I was thinking that I was like, this is
In an
Yes.
hour and a half, the
Very
Joker
similar.
manages to make that same turn
Yes.
better for me than the 2 hours and 20-something minutes.
I was gonna say, there's our second week in a row we talked about a white dude who goes nuts.
Mm-hmm.
With longish hair.
Yeah, longish
Who
hair.
gets a head injury towards the
In 1980.
God.
Yeah, definite trend there. But yeah, other than that though, I mean, Jack Nicholson I think does kill in this
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
There are a few particular scenes I love with him, but anyway, we'll just jump into our next thing. What did you guys really like about this movie, even though we started talking about that stuff? Kat, what did you like?
I absolutely love the cinematography. I say this, I preach this. The cinematography in this movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, it's like an art piece. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. I also very much enjoy the one particular scene where it's very clear that Jack has like flipped.
Yeah.
And Wendy's got the baseball bat and she's backing up the stairs and he goes, "Wendy, darling, light of my life, I'm not gonna hurt you.
I'm just gonna
bash your brains in. Bash them right the frick in." It's my favorite.
Okay, yeah, and I was gonna say, so I asked you downstairs while we were watching the end.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Is this on DVD?" Because I watched it on 4K.
You did.
Yes, and this
It's behind you.
yeah, but I asked because this movie just looks very good. Like
Yeah.
it looks just I can't explain it. It just especially that mace scene. As much as I just bashed it, it looks good.
It does.
Like those hedges look amazing, even on a DVD
it's
rendering.
Just,
It's great looking.
uh-huh.
Josh, what about you? What did you like about this movie?
Like I said, for the most part, I thought the performance was really well. Jack Nicholson is good at being Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
He
Joker.
is.
I forgot he's Joker too.
Yeah.
But in the words of your mom, he does play a very good creep.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
because he's pretty creepy even from the beginning.
He is. It's clear that he's kind of like.
Like, okay, so I'll
He's
Josh
on
go
the
ahead.
brink.
Yeah.
yeah, it just for the fact that it seemed all very predictable to me. There were a couple things that weren't, and I was like, okay, that's nice.
That's what I thought when I watched this. But I was like, okay, I know where this is going because I know about the movie and stuff.
Yeah,
and there
and
were
I
a few
was-
things
and I
thrown
was
in there. I
right.
was like, whoa, okay, all right.
But yeah, it was.
I don't
it was
know.
fine.
I don't know if we're thinking the same thing, but for one, the gooby part threw me off, and then the lady in the bathtub really threw me off because I did not
I
know
hate
about
that part.
Right?
Ugh,
I had no
I
As
idea
I
hate that
mentioned
part.
to you, there are now two
There are two Stephen King movies
I've seen. If you want to separate the It chapters, where there is uncomfortably an old,
That's right.
disgusting naked lady monster.
Speaking of which, yeah, this movie is based on a Stephen King book, so mark that up as our second Stephen
Which he
King review in
actually
a month.
stayed, and I believe he based this off of like an
The
actual
Stanley
experience.
Hotel, yes.
The Stanley
So
Hotel.
yes,
that
this
he
movie
stayed in.
is based. So this movie takes place in the Overlook Hotel, which is based on Stanley Hotel in Colorado. Because I looked it up, it's only $200 a
And
night,
Stephen
guys.
King stayed in their
Yeah.
creepiest room and wrote this book.
Yeah, he might have been on cocaine then. I don't know. He was definitely on that when he wrote It. He's confirmed that.
What a lizard man.
Yeah.
He does look like a lizard man.
He
You see
does.
any
He
picture.
absolutely does.
But speaking of the hotel itself, I was one of my points that I like is I very much love the atmosphere in this movie. I love the hotel. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And like it's very, I feel like if I were to go to this hotel in real life, I'd feel like I'd be able to recognize and find my way around just from watching this movie.
Yeah.
I also love the feeling of Stanley Kubrick very much captures the feeling of isolation in this movie. I think very well. And that comes, I think, just from Jack and Danny both sort of becoming.
Well, it doesn't even matter. I've watched this movie with so many people in the room, and still you get that feeling of like you're just alone, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, this
it's
movie,
a chilling movie.
I love it because this movie just grabs you just
It
from
does.
like it being on. Because I just walked in to these guys watching like the final 20 minutes.
Within like 30 seconds of walking in, you were just like.
Yeah, I know. Well, first I didn't want to start saying stuff to ruin it for Josh, but also I was like, oh, I get to watch this again. So I just sat down and I was just into it again, and it was amazing.
This is a totally random thing, but I really like it, is the fact that I know someone in this production had to type out all of those pages that said nothing else but all work and no play.
Yeah.
Jack and Tell Boy, yes.
With slight variations.
Yeah.
And
like different spacing.
it's not like something, it's different when
Because this was made '79, so
yeah.
you couldn't do
It's different when
stuff you
it's
did today.
practical.
Yeah.
So someone had to sit at a typewriter
Yeah.
and do that for who knows how long.
Yeah.
And I think that's hilarious. I love that.
Just for like a quick 10-second gag or whatever you want to call it.
Just.
But another thing I want to say is I love the imagery. There's a lot of iconic imagery in this movie. One being, the "Here's Johnny." That's obviously
The Toy Story carpet.
Yes, I was gonna say the carpet, which is obviously in our thumbnail. The twins at the end of the hallway.
My mom sent me a gif of the twins because she knew we were watching this movie.
Which I've seen parodies and I've seen the scene by itself a lot, but once I watched it in context and stuff, super creepy.
Yeah.
Still super creepy. So props to the movie. There is the blood elevator, I call it.
Yes.
That's very yes. They use that in all the marketing for this movie too.
It's so cool.
And then a particular shot I call Jack Frost, which is at the very end of the movie.
Oh.
Yeah. Very awesome.
Jack Frost.
Thanks.
That was good.
And then I gotta say, overall, I love the plot of this movie. It's just a really awesome plot. I love the sort of the world building they do in here, and
Me watching this movie
yeah.
for the 700th time.
So what are your guys' thoughts on this plot? Because like there seems to be like a really deep like lore to this thing that they don't entirely reveal in this movie, which I love. It's sort of up to your interpretation. So what do you guys just think of that?
I want to read the book because I'm very much interested to know more, and
How big
I
is
love
the
this
book?
movie so much. If it's a true Stephen King book, at least like 500 pages.
At least 1,000 pages. Let's be honest.
Well, he's got some
Yeah.
shorter ones, but I'm sure it's a huge book.
Yeah.
But I would very much love to read that sometime and find out a lot more because it is such a cool plot, but it kind of leaves you wondering, like with that last scene with the picture.
Because like
You're like, what happened? How
Also-
did this happen?
I also love just how a lot of this is up to like your interpretation. Like, was this all in his head? Did he really just go insane, or was he like possessed, or what happened?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Josh, you're fresh off of this. So what do you think happened? And what do you think was real or was fake, possibly?
Well, my two favorite theories at this point in time is his whole "I've been here before" thing was because he was.
Yeah.
Either he actually was in the past, or a relative of his was there in the past, and then he showed up and he was like, "Haha, you're a ghost, possessed," and then he made it go crazy. I think the one I enjoyed better is that this guy just kind of freaking lost it.
Yeah.
And
He's just a kook.
he heard that story at the beginning, and he was like, "There's no way that's gonna happen to me," and then everyone was like, "Wow!"
But speaking, I love the scenes where like he's in the party room and he's
Oh.
talking to the bartender, and then
Lloyd.
he goes, and then he goes into the bathroom with the one dude, and then just out of nowhere there's this like flip, and you realize, oh, this dude is.
Well, and they're using this weird extended metaphor of like correcting their behavior.
Which means.
Just a fancy word for death.
There is a side note. There's a Bob's Burgers episode that I really want to show you where Bob gets stuck in the walls and he has a scene with Louise's like stuffed animal and they go into they do the bathroom scene from The Shining.
Really?
It's so funny.
What freaks me out about that scene though is like the flip where it just all of a sudden there's just a sudden racism card thrown in there, and it feels weird. You're like, oh fudge.
You're like, ah.
Yeah, I almost
That
burst
would
out
hurt a little
laughing
bit.
because I didn't expect anything like
Yeah.
that. And then it happened, and I controlled it, but I almost just burst
Ooh.
out laughing because then it's two more times, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right, run with it, guys. I guess it's the '80s.
Yeah, so I also want to throw in here my favorite character in this movie, as well as like Danny and Jack and Wendy are in this. I love Scatman or
He's
Dick.
incredible.
Yeah, he is, and I called him Scat. I didn't realize his real name is Scatman.
Really?
Yeah, his real name is Scatman. I call him Scatman because he played Scat Cat in the Aristocats.
He did?
I realized that.
You are kidding.
I'm not joking. I realized that as soon as I heard his voice. I realized as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, that's Scat Cat. That's my Scatman. And his real name's Scatman. It's insane.
I'm so.
And I feel like he's done another Disney character, but I can't put my noggin to it. But yeah,
Mater.
there's another fun fact.
What?
Mater.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, this movie's great. So let's just throw it to our ratings. That's the bathroom scene, by the way, guys.
Oh,
if you didn't know.
That creepy smile. That is
yeah, by the way,
iconic.
he's got some great
Oh.
like facial animations or whatever.
Jack
in this
Nicholson
movie.
is very much a physical actor. And he
Yeah,
absolutely
very
kills
much.
it.
Very good. And that limp, that's an awesome
Oh,
limp that
yeah.
carries through the entire last third of this movie.
Yeah.
I kept watching specifically because I was like, "There's like, if he messes this limp up, I'm gonna notice."
Yeah.
But then he didn't. And I was like, "All right."
Good for him.
Yeah.
But
Can't fall
actually,
out.
I want to get another opinion real quick before. I don't mean to hold you guys too long, but I want to get a quick opinion on Tony.
Tony.
Because my theory is Tony is a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just trying to help the entire time.
He's probably my sixth favorite Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, so you have Tony Stark, then you have Tony from Popstar, which
Yeah.
then makes the first five.
And then
you've got
Tony.
that Tony who's 6.
How many more Tonys do you know?
Well, if I could think of more off the top of my head, I would have pushed it farther. But I knew I had 5.
Oh, by the way, that's another like iconic imagery thing. The red rum thing, the whole red rum. That's like the. Yeah, it's like all the posters for the Doctor Sleep movie, which sees the return of Danny, but played by Ewan McGregor. Anyways,
Ewan McGregor.
He's from a different country.
Obi-Wan.
That's right.
Obi-Wan.
Soon to be again. But yeah, let's just start to ratings. Who wants to go first?
Not
Josh.
me. I
Dang
need
it.
to look at the list.
Dang it.
Because
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
This movie's amazing. So for me, I'm giving this movie 9 dead Scatmans out of 10.
9 dead Scatmans.
That's my final rating for now. I think I gave It Chapter 2 the same rating, but I definitely like this movie a lot more. I think
movies can have the same ratings, but you could like them more than the other.
I know, but you can't tell the comment section are very active.
I was
comment
gonna
section.
say. Woo!
Me.
Just Chris. I'll reply. We'll do it.
All right.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, how about you, Kat? What's your rating for this?
I would rate this absolutely 10 red rums out of 10.
Ooh.
It is my favorite. I wouldn't say my favorite, but it's one of my favorite spooky season movies ever. I watch
Definitely
it
one of my
year
favorite
round.
Stephen King movies.
Absolutely. And
Next to like Shawshank Redemption and whatever.
I'm a
other
firm
ones.
believer that this does not have to just be a spooky season movie. I watch it all the time.
You
It
can
is
watch
one of
this
my
thing at Christmas.
favorites. It is one of my
And you don't have to.
one of my
right?
absolute favorites. Josh.
I think I'm gonna give it 5 Tonys out of 10.
5 times, that's fine.
Because it is not by any means a bad movie. But it is not my kind of movie.
Oh yeah. that's fine.
And just so you're all aware, this is the Halloween season. So we've got...
Which means we have to force Josh
which
to watch
means
movies
that-
he doesn't
yeah,
like.
Which means that I'm entirely alienated for the next, including this one, the next 3 weeks.
Actually, well, next week though shouldn't be that bad.
Next week shouldn't be too bad for you.
I will probably enjoy next week.
Next week will
You
be
will
the
enjoy
most out of all of these.
Yes.
Actually, do you want to reveal what next week is, just for the heck of it?
Young Frankenstein.
Yep, next week we're doing Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder.
And I am of the opinion that I have never seen something Mel Brooks is in any way involved in that I don't like.
That's
Awesome, little sneak preview for you guys.
So we'll see.
So we'll see you guys next week. But first, one last question, Josh, where can you find us?
Well, we are at social media on JD Studios 208 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Snapchat on occasion. We also do a podcast that's currently on hiatus, and the information for that is in the description below.
Why is your finger down the entire time?
I was subtly...
Is he like sad all the time?
he's really sad.
My Tony's sad because he's only the 6th best.
Makes sense. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.